When my son's gift turned into a dark family secret at midnight that haunts us forever. The clock struck 12, the witching hour, when something sinister unfurled in the corners of their little suburban home. As the shadows lengthened, anxiety gripped Ella's chest like a vice. It began with a simple wooden box, a gift from her young son, Nathan, who found it on his school's playground. It was beautifully carved, each pattern telling a story, but it had an unsettling aura about it. The moment she laid eyes on it, a chill slithered down her spine, yet she watched with her heart in her throat as Nathan's face lit up with joy. But joy turned to dread as the nights grew dark, and the whispers began. Strange occurrences punctuated their once quiet life. Nathan spoke to the box as if it were alive, his little hands tracing the intricate designs with strange reverence. Ella listened, petrified, each word dripping with inexplicable fear. She would catch hushed phrases, unsettling chants, and laughter that seemed too adult for her little boy. And the temperature? It plummeted in the small nursery where the box resided, a spot in the house that felt more like the Arctic than their warm home. When she walked in, her breath fogged the air. Every corner seemed to bend, shadows stretching toward her, clutching at her sanity. At first, she tried to convince herself that it was just her imagination. But the whispers were growing louder, echoing off the walls like a cacophony of pleading voices. The night Nathan disappeared into his dreams, a loud crash rattled their home, sending Ella scrambling for the source. She found the box on the floor, the lid flung open, and Nathan stood over it, eyes wide with an ancient knowing that chilled her blood. "Mom," he said, voice quivering, "they want to come out." The air thickened as she felt an awakening, something dark and spine-chilling. "What do you mean, Nathan?" The tremble in her voice betrayed her bravado. The question hung heavy in the midnight air, mingling with the dust motes dancing in the unsettling stillness. Just then, came a loud thud from the box, almost like a heartbeat. Ella's heart raced. Had they truly let something in? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Ella's stomach tightened. She knelt before Nathan, searching his eyes for the boy she knew. "What do you mean by they?" But as she looked closer, the boy's laughter morphed into something unrecognizable, echoing with the haunting undertones of old fears. An icy wave swept through her veins. Was this just the beginning? Nathan hardly looked like her sweet child anymore. The shadows convulsed as the box trembled slightly, and a voice deep and crackling like dry leaves emanated from within, wrapping around her like chains. "What will you sacrifice?" It hissed, making Ella's heart race. The thought clawed at her mind. Her family might not survive this ominous calling. Fear paralyzed her, but a defiance ignited as she felt the weight of the world pressing on her shoulders. Would she succumb to whatever darkness had settled in her home? The answer lay in the box. What had she truly invited into their lives? And with that unsettling question lingering, she knew this was only the beginning. Ella's breath hitched, the air thick with the terror of the moment. The depth of the box's voice felt like a void, pulling her in, darker than anything she'd ever faced. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, to get Nathan and run from this horrifying domain, but her legs felt like lead. "What will you sacrifice?" it asked again, more insistent this time. The shadows in the nursery lengthened, coiling around her ankle like serpents, demanding she engage. "Mom, they want to play," Nathan said sweetly, innocence teetering on the edge of something grotesque. His youthful face was lit with a kind of joy she had never wanted to see. What game could he possibly be referring to? "Play." She forced the word out, fighting to maintain a tone of calm, though the waver in her voice betrayed her. "What do they want to play, sweetheart?" They want to come outside, and the boy paused, his small hands grasping at the air, eyes darting to the box, then back to her, as if he was debating how much to reveal in front of the helplessness he could sense radiating from her trembling form. Suddenly, without warning, the box let out a low, guttural rumble, shaking violently on the floor. Ella stumbled back, crashing into the dresser with a dull thud. Nathan stood anchored, staring at the box with a fixation that terrified her even more than the box itself. She could see his excitement undoing her rational thought, unlocking some surreal connection that didn't belong to a 5-year-old. "Close it, Nathan. Please." She begged, her voice a fragile whisper, nearly drowned out by the resonating plea of the box, filled with pregnant silence. Time seemed to stretch as Nathan moved slowly, his small fingers reaching toward the chaos within. "Mom, what if they like me?" he said in a tone that was far too old for his age, sending a fresh wave of horror washing over her. Just then, as if the universe had conspired against her, the nursery flickered with an eerie light that seemed to emit from the box itself. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting into faces malevolent, colorful, and all too ready to escape. "No!" Ella shouted, voice rising in desperation. "Nathan, don't!" But her words hung in the air, too late, as the box began to vibrate even more violently, and Nathan gasped, transfixed. The glow turned into tendrils of thick smoke that curled and spiraled, encircling the child in a dark embrace. Ella's heart pounded violently against her chest. "Get away from it!" she screamed, leaping forward but finding herself caught in a freezing shroud of terror. Just as she neared him, the smoky remnants fused together, coalescing into a shadowy figure of a boy, his eyes full of dark hunger, reflecting everything she feared. "It is so lonely, Ella," it purred, a whisper that sent a chill racing down her spine. The creature gestured lazily towards Nathan, who looked up, grinning, eyes shining with an unholy glee. "Can I keep him? Please? We can play forever." Desperation clawed deep within her. "No. He's not yours," Ella shouted, lunging forward, adrenaline surging through her veins. With a sudden clarity, she remembered the small glass plate that lay on the kitchen counter, crafted to seal away dark forces. "What have I invited into our home?" she thought, panic now feeding into determination. "I need to end this." But before she could turn to flee, Nathan's voice echoed through the dimness, now chillingly different. "Mom. I want to play." Those words sent a wave of dread through her. Could she save her son from something risen from the depths of despair, or had Nathan already chosen the darkness? The shrill laugh of the box pierced the air, sending a shockwave of terror spiraling through her heart. Would the sacrifice demanded by this sinister force come at a price she could never pay? With a shattering realization, she knew she had to confront the source of all this, a dark family secret that lay waiting in the shadows, ready to claim what it desired. And just as she prepared to make a desperate choice, the nursery lights flickered out, plunging her into chilling darkness. What would she sacrifice to save Nathan? The answer loomed, taunting her from the depths of the night. Ella's heart raced in the suffocating darkness, her skin prickling with an urgency that mirrored the shadows swirling around her. Nothing felt real anymore. The nursery stretched beyond the limits of comprehension, the familiar crib transforming into an altar that demanded an offering only the brave or the foolish would dare to give. "Mom, can I keep him?" Nathan's words echoed through the void, dripping with twisted innocence. The sound twisted in Ella's gut like a knife, her breath caught somewhere between panic and defiance. "No, Nathan. You don't understand." She screamed, desperate for her boy to awaken from whatever fog had consumed him. The shadows slithered closer, and she fought to remain tethered to the gravity of the moment. She had to find a way to break this grip on her son, but how? The box remained a malignant presence, vibrating like a heartbeat in the night, stimulating memories, warm summers, family gatherings, laughter. And buried deeply within her, an ancient warning stirred, begging to be recognized. Did the curse of their family heritage claw its way back from the shadows? As she stumbled toward Nathan, her fingers brushed against the wall, seeking the light switch, the familiar mundane thing that now felt impossibly far away. She had to illuminate the dark before it consumed them both. "Just come here, my love. Come to me." She felt something shift. The air crackled with anticipation. Nathan began to move, glancing back at the box with an almost inexplicable longing, as if it was whispering his name with a siren's song. "Mom, they said we can be happy forever." His words were slick with something sinister, twisting her heart into a cold knot. A part of her screamed that Nathan's soul had turned from warmth to ice, no longer merely a child yearning for play, but something so much more insidious. "Stay away from it." Ella yelled again, but her voice fell into the abyss. The flickering light returned, illuminating Nathan's face, a mixture of wonder and something darker beneath. His eyes glimmered, not with childish joy, but with a profound understanding of the void pulling at him. The shadow figure danced along the walls behind him, projected by the box, as if beckoning her son to join in a macabre embrace. "You're tempting him!" she shrieked in desperation, lunging forward as Nathan stood his ground, roots wrapping around him in an unseen grasp. "Fight it, Nathan. We have to fight." But he seemed lost, his small form a mere reflection of the boy she once knew. An icy hand clutched her heart. She had to make a choice. "Let me protect you." The urgency in her voice turned to raw desperation. "You are my son. You belong with me." A rumble from the box resonated like thunder, shaking the very foundations of the nursery. The shadows snapped and hissed, tightening around her, blurring the lines of resolve with fear. Suddenly, she caught sight of that glass plate she had recalled earlier, forlornly lying atop the kitchen counter. She needed it now more than ever, to banish this evil clawing at their lives. "I'll put an end to this curse," she vowed silently. She turned away from Nathan, ready to break through the darkness if it meant wrenching her son back to safety, but as she fled, a sinister whisper floated through the air. "You can't run from the truth, Ella." Each step toward the kitchen felt like wading through thick mud, a cruel force holding her in place. Yet she pressed on, fueled by one thought: the light would come if she reached that plate. She could end this nightmare and save her child, but at that moment, a chilling realization dawned. What if the truth she was running from was more than just a dark family secret? What if it was part of her, intertwined in her very existence? Would she be ready to confront it when the moment arrived? The shadows surged behind her, darker and more resolute. She could almost hear Nathan's soft laughter turning into echoes of mockery. And as the nursery fell into another oppressive silence, a spark ignited louder than the darkness. What was the price of salvation? The question hung in the air, laden with a dreadful weight. Would she be brave enough to face it? Ella's hands trembled as she reached the kitchen, the light above flickering like a faulty memory. The plate shimmered temptingly in the gloom, yet it sometimes seemed to shift, to morph beneath her gaze. What was it revealing? "Please, Nathan." Her voice cracked, pushing through walls of dread. "I'm coming back for you." But as she turned to grab the plate, panic erupted within her. The shadows burrowed deeper, swallowing the space, every corner whispering cruel secrets. In the haze, faces flickered, lost souls of her past seemed to peer at her through the thickening darkness, each one dragging their grief into her consciousness. Each of them had faced a choice just like hers and they had turned away. "Can you hear them?" A voice slithered through her mind, shaping words that melded with the shifting shadows. "They couldn't save themselves. They're waiting for you now to join." "No." Ella gasped, clenching her fists. "I want to become a part of this." With renewed determination, she snatched the plate from the counter. It felt cool, alive with energy, and though she embraced it, she couldn't shake the sensation that the object could burn through the dark. All she needed was the right moment. Behind her, the nursery pulsed, Nathan's laughter now echoed as a twisted symphony of joy and despair. "Mom, why won't you come back?" It was his voice, sweet yet filled with an unsettling edge. The familiarity of it tightened around her heart, making her dizzy. Each word dripped with a dark charm, pulling her back to the magic of his innocent smiles, now marred by shadows. "Stay strong, Ella," she whispered to herself, through shallow breaths. "You've got this." But the more she fought to concentrate, the more the shadows began to converge, whirling, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. Ella gripped the plate tightly, square and shimmering like a beacon of hope against the swirling darkness. Suddenly, the air crackled violently, the shadows recoiled. A blinding light erupted from the plate, illuminating faces twisted in fear, anger, and despair, faces from her past, drawn into this haunting nightmare. "Ella! Do not let them take you." It was her mother's voice, frail but still fierce in its insistence. Feeling an overpowering surge of emotions, Ella stumbled back, memories flooding her mind. Had they fought similar battles? She remembered the stories, whispered warnings echoing through the years, of curses and bargains that cursed their family. They had lived in fear, terror perpetually stalking their lives. But deep down, did she dare to admit the truth? What lurked beneath the surface of her own heart could be as dark as the shadows that threatened Nathan now. "Free him," her mother's spectre urged, anguish etched across her face. "You can break this. He belongs to me." Ella cried, terror gripping her. Would Nathan still be her son if she managed to free him? The thought pulsated in her mind, yet, the shadows warped, shifting around them like a storm, squeezing into her chest. The voices grew louder, blending into a cacophony of conflicting cries and laughter, urging her forward. Or was it pulling her under? She pressed the plate close to her chest, feeling the surge of warmth battling the coldness creeping into her bones. "I'm losing you, Nathan. I can't let you go." She forced the words through trembling lips, fighting the shadows with every ounce of her being. "Join us, Mom." Nathan's voice deepened, vibrating with dark euphoria. "We can be a family, forever." Terror twisted in her gut. Could she really do this? Extend her hand into the void? Was Nathan even alive in there, or was this something worse than death? She felt herself teeter on the edge of despair and hope, caught between love for her son and the creeping dread of the unknown. What if the cursed truth was that she, too, could be expanding toward the darkness? As the shadows roared louder, the sensation of the plate burning against her heart burned and flickered into life. And right before her stood a choice: how could she fight the darkness without losing herself? What price would she pay to save Nathan? Would she dare to embrace the truth that entwined her own fate with the family curse? The battle for her son's soul had only just begun. Ella felt the plate hum against her chest, the warmth pulsating in rhythm with her racing heart. It was clear, she was at a crossroads that could change everything. The urge to cradle Nathan's essence burned fiercely within her, a desperate need to rescue him from the suffocating grasp of the shadows that twisted around them. "Mom," the voice slipped through again, thick with a syrupy sweetness that dripped with dread. "Don't be afraid. We can have everything we ever wanted if you just give and stop it," she shouted, a rebellion boiling to the surface. Her breath caught as the shadows flickered at her outburst, pulling back momentarily as if caught off guard. "You're not my son anymore. You're trapped in this nightmare. I need you back." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken fear. The echoes of her childhood came crashing back, like a tidal wave. She couldn't hold back whispers of curses passed down through generations, her family dodging shadows like they were old friends. The stories had always seemed like frightening tales, designed to scare children into obedience, but now they were her reality. "Your family has failed before," the voice hissed, slithering around her. "Why would you be any different? The darkness is your destiny. Join us, embrace it." No. Her shout, raw and primal, burst forth again, louder this time, drowning out the spectre's words. Ella felt the plate crackle beneath her fingertips as she tightened her grip. It thrummed with power, inviting and frightening. What had been a trinket of hope now felt like an anchor, tethering her to this malevolent force. She turned, her back to the nursery, fighting against the allure of Nathan's fragmented laughter. What if she opened that door? What if she couldn't handle whatever lay beyond? The air thickened with the oppressive weight of her choices, the shadows swirling with impatient whispers and that heartbeat where doubt threatened to unravel her resolve. A glimmer of Nathan's laughter pierced through the chaos. It was pure, untainted by darkness. She remembered the little boy who would giggle and chase after fireflies, painting her nights with his light. Her heart clenched. The boy she still believed was trapped within this consuming void. Please, she breathed deeply, the ache in her chest tightening. I will not leave you here. I will fight for you. The shadows shivered at her declaration, morphing into angry forms that lunged forward, desperate to silence her defiance. Ella stepped back instinctively, but the plate radiated warmth, blanketing her with a fierce light. Your power is nothing. She shouted into the depths, lifting the plate above her head like a shield. I defy you. The cacophony of whispers erupted into a roar, a backlash against her courage that shattered her senses. The air around her vibrated violently, and the room shook beneath her feet. Faces from her past surged forward, a whirlwind of horror and regret. Echoes of their cries clashed with Nathan's laughter, creating a chilling symphony that spun her mind. In the midst of the chaos, Ella felt the plate begin to glow. Its light intensified, pushing back the dark tendrils wrapping around her. Voices cried out, but within that noise, she caught a glimpse of something shiny glimmering in the shadows, a reflection of her own hopes buried under layers of anguish. Was that hope she felt? Or was it simply another illusion? She squinted into the depths, heart hammering in her chest. Show me the truth. She screamed, ready to break the curse that had haunted her family for generations. The light exploded from the plate, casting a blinding glare that blanketed the room, pushing shadows back into corners, revealing more than just darkness. Behind the faces, warped by despair, she imagined a figure, a twist of sorrow and heartache that looked alarmingly familiar. Ella. The voice resonated through the vibrancy. Open your eyes. Make your choice. Who was she about to unleash? In that moment, she felt the weight of the truth pulling her down, even as the light sought to lift her. The choice stretched before her. Would she risk everything to bring Nathan back? With a final determination, she took a step forward into the blinding light, bracing herself for whatever the truth might unleash. But in that flash, as reality teetered on the edge of eternity, one question echoed louder than the rest: could freeing Nathan mean losing herself forever? The light engulfed Ella, wrapping around her like a warm embrace, but beneath its surface, she felt the chill of uncertainty creeping in. It was intoxicating, dizzying, yet terrifying. The blinding glow illuminated the remnants of her past, spinning fast around her like a tornado. Each memory came at her with blinding clarity: her mother's warnings, her grandmother's fearful eyes. The attic filled with shadows and whispers became a cacophonous symphony she could no longer ignore. Stay away! She shouted, but her voice seemed muted against the powerful surge of light. Still, she dared to move deeper, drawn by the haunting melody of Nathan's laughter. It danced like a firefly in the darkness, calling her home. As she pressed onward, the brightness flickered, revealing twisted figures lurking in the periphery. The distorted faces were a gallery of grief and sadness, her ancestors, each bound by the same curse that now threatened to consume her family whole. Ella gritted her teeth, fighting against the stale air that felt thick as molasses. I will not let you take him. She screamed, but the shadows only hushed momentarily, waiting for her resolve to weaken. I will fight you. Then, an eerie calm descended. The shadows froze, their angry forms quivering as though sensing the flicker of determination in her heart. This was the moment, the turning point. She had been given a glimmer of her son and the opportunity to claim him back. Listen to your mother. Free yourself. Came a guttural growl, reverberating from the depths. The voice was gutted by a deep sorrow, a reflection of Nathan's own torment. And then, there was silence. The light from the plate pulsed like a heartbeat, syncing with her own as a wave of cold realization washed over her. What if this was a trick, a dark ruse to sap her strength? What if the price of freeing Nathan meant binding him to the shadows forever? Could she push back the darkness without sacrificing the only light in her life? Moments stretched into lifetimes as doubt curled tight around her heart. The shadows flickered expectantly, waiting for her misstep, their whispers becoming a seductive chant. "Join us," they murmured, sweetly. "You'll never have to feel pain again. Just embrace the dark." With a shuddering breath, Ella summoned her courage. "I refuse," she declared, the words bursting from her lips with the ferocity of a firework. "You will not have him." In that instant, a tunnel of brilliance opened in front of her, a spiraling vortex of radiant energy. The figures dimmed as if parting to reveal something beyond, a way to Nathan, perhaps. She staggered toward it, a fierce determination swelling within, each step fueled with the love she held for her son, but then, shadows grasped her ankles, their icy fingers wrapping around her, chaining her to the past. Ella fought against them, but the tighter she pushed, the harder they clung, threatening to pull her down into their abyss. "You will lose everything if you proceed," they hissed, their voices growing in numbers. "Not if I believe in him," Ella cried, tears streaming down her cheeks, the weight of her heritage crashing over her. This battle wasn't merely for Nathan, it was for every child who had come before her, those ensnared by the darkness that came with their bloodline. Summoning the last vestiges of her strength, she burst into the light. With a blinding flash, the shadows screamed, their anguished cries echoing through time as the warmth of Nathan's laughter crescendoed, drowning them out. A familiar face appeared through the glow. Nathan, both ethereal and deeply human, his wide eyes shining with hope, but just as she reached for him, the darkness exploded around her, knocking her back with unforeseen ferocity. "You want your son? Then face the truth." Ella stumbled, breathless, her world spinning. What truth awaited her beyond this light? Would this moment lead her toward salvation or into the depths of a darker family secret she was not ready to uncover? As she teetered on the edge of oblivion, a single question seeped into her mind like poison: what would she have to sacrifice to reclaim the light from the shadows? The explosion of darkness overwhelmed Ella. She felt gravity tug at her, pulling her further from Nathan. The moment stretched, wrapping around her like a vice. Dread clawed at her throat as she fought to regain her footing, desperately scanning the chaos for her son. Where was he? "Ella!" His voice called out, fragile yet filled with a blend of urgency and fear. It cut through the tumult and sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. She searched the haze, each whispered accusation from the shadows fading into a distant memory, but the figures loomed, flickering erratically, their eyes burning dark pools of sorrow and longing, as if they were drawing power from her confusion. She had entered their domain, the birthplace of torment, a place where dreams faded and hope withered. "Face the truth," they hissed again, now several voices entwined, rising like a chorus of betrayal. Each word felt like shards of ice piercing her skin. "What truth?" she shouted back, her voice wavering. "What do you want from me?" A shadow detached itself from the horde, a cloak of darkness whipping around it. As it stepped forward, a face emerged, familiar yet grotesque: her grandmother. "You think you can save him?" The apparition sneered. "Your bloodline is irrevocably marked. You have no power here." "No." Ella shook her head, summoning the strength of generations who had come before her. "I am not them. I am not defined by your darkness." The shadows shrieked pure anguish, echoing in a wave, crashing over her. It didn't matter. She was the vessel of hope. The fist of anguish tightened, but she could almost feel a shimmer inside her, a flicker of light. Suddenly, through the light, Nathan's figure emerged again, radiant and seemingly unscathed. "Mom! This way!" he urged, stretching his arms toward her. His voice rang like bells of salvation, embracing her heart. But behind him, darkness writhed like a serpent. "No, Nathan! Stay back!" Panic flared as she watched him stumble toward her, oblivious to the threat. A violent pulse of shadows surged forward, eager to reclaim what had been wrested from them. "Stop!" she shouted, tears blurring her vision. Would he be swallowed into the void along with her? We're running out of time. Nathan yelled, his expression morphing from courage to fear. With each second, the dark figures began to close in, their presence suffocating. We have to break the bond. Ella's mind raced. How? She breathed, losing her grip if only for a second. You have to confront what you've suppressed. Nathan's voice wavered, but determination laced each word. You must acknowledge me. You've kept me hidden, your fear, your doubts. Only then can we shatter this curse. And the truth hit her like a fist to the gut. She had hidden in shadows of her own, afraid because to truly embrace Nathan meant accepting what lay ahead, the weight of family secrets, the haunting choices. It meant trusting, truly trusting again, after so much loss. No. No more. She panted, shaking her head. I can't lose you again. But Nathan's eyes burned brighter. You won't lose me. We are stronger than this. He reached out again, but with each movement, the lengthening shadows obstructed him. Face your truth, Ella. The shadow of her grandmother intoned, waves of ancient sorrow mingling with underlying rage. Finally, with agonizing clarity, Ella stepped forward through the murky terrain. I will not be afraid of what I was. I will not hide. She felt her heart race, a pulse of resilience igniting within her. The shadows writhed, recoiling as if her declaration seared them. They whipped around wildly, their screams echoing, sudden chaos crashing all around. Please, she cried, desperation rippling through her voice. Let him go. And suddenly, the shadows began to unravel, threads of darkness dissipating into the air, but the true test loomed behind. This was only the beginning. What truth awaited her on the other side, and would it be worth the fight to reclaim Nathan? As she looked into the fractured light, she wondered if the cost would mean unraveling her very essence. Would she dare to uncover her family's blood-soaked legacy, or would the darkness claim them both? The shadows began to retreat, cutting back like an ebbing tide, but it wasn't the end. For every inch they receded, a different kind of pressure began to fill the void. The darkness didn't leave quietly, instead, it shrieked and writhed, coiling like a serpent ready to strike. Mom! Nathan's voice echoed, pulling her from the brink of despair. She locked her eyes onto him, braving the twisted faces of nightmares that flickered at the edges of her sight. But his light felt warming now, a beacon against the encroaching dread. I'm coming! She shouted, desperation threading through her words. With each step forward, the pull of shadows tried to drag her back, gripping her ankles with spiteful hands. Don't look away. Nathan urged, his fear palpable. We have to confront them together. The words held weight, crashing against her resolve. She couldn't ignore what lay hidden under layers of self-preservation. Until now, she had been avoiding the pain, her family, their haunted past, the darkness she worked so hard to outrun. But here, she could feel their collective heartbeat in the air, heavy with regret and sorrow. It was all connected, and the time to choose had come. Face me! Ella screamed into the gathering shadows as they loomed menacingly, her voice resonating with a strength she didn't know she possessed. You will not hold us captive. The whispering voices turned into shrill howls, a chorus of grief that grated against her ears. They encroached, threatening to wrap her in their suffocating embrace. But Ella stood firm, breathing through the swell of panic rising in her throat. One shadow lunged forward, a twisting figure trying to enclose her. In that instant, Ella recognized it. Caught in the middle of her essence was the face of her father. Lost and tortured, gazing back with pain etched into his features. Father! She cried, the recognition striking like a whip. Is this what you want for me? To live within these chains, shackled to despair? His eyes, muddied with sorrow, filled with something else, understanding. You must accept the legacy of our blood, he said, voice a ghostly echo. Only then will you be free. Free. She gripped the words tightly as they twisted and turned in her mind. Free from what? Your demons. My demons. Your choice will decide what comes next, he whispered, the shadow flickering hesitantly. In that moment, Ella felt the collective weight of generations, their struggles intertwining with her own. There it was, the blood-soaked legacy nagging at the edges of her heart. She had spent years running a coward, hiding from the truth. She breathed deeply, heart hammering against her ribs. No more running. She declared firmly, echoing not just her conviction, but the will of past generations. I choose to confront the darkness. I choose to heal our family. Ma Nathan's voice cut through the whirlwind, filled with anxious hope. You're doing it. The shadows howled, as if sensing a dagger plunged into the heart of their solitude. They shrieked and faded, but they still clawed at the edges of her consciousness, refusing to relinquish their hold just yet. Ella felt a warmth bloom inside her, hoping to wrestle free the hope buried beneath years of anguish. I won't let your tangled past define me. The shadows recoiled, a collective gasp resonating through the air. With every declaration, Ella felt herself shedding layers of fear. She felt lighter, stronger, closer to Nathan with every triumph. However, a single shadow remained, dense and unyielding. It stepped forward, her grandmother. You think you can break this cycle? You think you can escape what has been written for you, Ella? What has been written can be changed. She yelled back, determination flaring in her chest. I will not bow to the expectations of darkness. Not now, not ever. This is my future, our future. Ella stepped toward the last flicker of darkness. In its core sat the very essence of fear, the fear of not being enough, of losing her son, of carrying the weight of a family bound by blood and grief. And yet she embraced it, cradling grief as a part of her story rather than a definition. What would the next step be? Would she stand resolute enough to see this through, or would the shadows pull her back one last time? The battle was far from over. Ella stood toe-to-toe with the shadow that wore her grandmother's face, the swirling darkness thickening and pushing against her, as if determined to boil over. This wasn't just an echo of her history, it was a tempest of untold stories begging to be rewritten. Let it go. Ella shouted, fighting against the stifling weight that clung to her chest. You don't define me. But her grandmother's shadow laughed, a sound like brittle bones cracking in an empty room. You think strength comes from shouting? You think you can simply will me away? I want to let you speak for me. Ella's words hung in the air, bold and bright, but underneath lay a tremor of uncertainty. What if she was wrong? What if this was a fight she couldn't win? Nathan's hand found hers, tiny but fierce, squeezing with the grip of a lifetime's worth of trust. Mom, you're not alone, he whispered, the innocent courage in his voice cutting through the haze of despair that swirled around them. With renewed determination, she turned her focus back to her grandmother. This cycle ends with me. Our blood had borne enough suffering. It's time for healing. Instantly, darkness rumbled, a low growl rising up from the shadows. The faces of ancestors twisted in protest, each one shouting of loss, betrayal, and bitterness. Memories filled her mind, tears at every family gathering, whispered secrets under the weight of sorrow. She could feel the regret radiating from the shadows, invasive and raw. Do you really think you can just change it all? Her grandmother's shadow snarled, an amalgamation of grief that stole the air from Ella's lungs. You're cursed. You'll always be haunted by our past. Something inside Ella snapped. We're not cursed, we're human. We feel pain, yes, but we also have the capacity to love and forgive. The shadows hesitated, shifting in their relentless pursuit. A flicker of doubt crossed their twisted forms, and for a brief moment, the air lightened. Can you forgive us? One shadow called out her father, a mere whisper now. The question cut through Ella's heart like an arrow. Could she? Ella hesitated, the weight of generations tethered to her. Forgiveness felt like a flickering light in a storm. I choose to forgive, but that doesn't mean I'll let the past dictate my future. She broke the silence, letting each word resonate with power. Your grip weakens with every step I take toward the light. With those words, a surge of energy jolted through her, a rush of warmth from Nathan's hand illuminating the space around them. The shadows shrieked, and for the first time, fear flickered in their desperate forms, but just as victory seemed within reach, a deep voice echoed from the heart of the darkness. You think you've won? You cannot escape the weavings of fate. A new wave of shadows surged forward, denser and hungrier than before, clawing at Ella and Nathan. It felt suffocating, a black mist spiraling around them. Stay close. Ella shouted, and they pressed together, a united front against the looming terror. She could feel the heat of her love for Nathan sparking a flame of defiance within her. No. She roared, more for herself than for them. You will not take me from my son. The shadows recoiled for a moment, and the swirling chaos around them fought with her newfound conviction. But deep inside the darkness, Ella sensed something ominous lurking, just beyond sight, a force waiting to strike when she felt least prepared. Shadowy whispers flooded her mind, swirling thoughts of doubt and fears she had buried deep, clawing their way to the surface. Could she truly be free? Or was the past writing the next chapter of her life with ink dipped in despair? Ella felt the ground shifting beneath her. She needed to act, needed to confront the source of the impending darkness before the abyss could swallow them whole. Mom, look! Nathan cried, pointing toward an emerging figure in the darkness, blurring into view. Ella's breath caught. The figure was familiar, yet utterly terrifying. It emerged from the shadows, not quite her grandmother, not quite anything she had seen before. But it felt like a piece of her soul, forever tangled within the currents of her family's curse. Who are you? She whispered, fear grinding inside her chest. With every heartbeat, the truth loomed closer, and Ella knew that she was running out of time. Mom, we can still get through this. Nathan's eyes shone bright, but Ella could see his fear mirrored in the depths of the darkness. And that figure shifted, revealing a face she had never wanted to see again. Was it the end, or merely the cusp of something far more sinister? The battle of legacies was still unfolding, and Ella wasn't sure she'd come out unscathed. She took a step forward, heart racing, ready to confront whatever entity awaited her in those depths. The shadows hissed as Ella stepped closer, her heart pounding, ready to face her fear head-on. I will not be defined by you. She shouted, her voice resonating against the whirlpool of darkness surrounding her. Nathan's tiny hand squeezed hers with a warmth that reminded her of everything precious: laughter-filled afternoons, soft hugs on cold nights, and the untarnished love only a mother could understand. We're stronger together, he urged, his youthful spirit igniting hope amidst despair. Ella felt the warmth of her resolve building, pushing back against the cold tendrils gripping her heart. Show me your truth, she cried, embracing the moment with fierce determination. Whatever waits here, I will confront it. The shadows roared, their shrill voices melding into a cacophony of dread. But Ella stood her ground, fueled by the love she felt for her son. The strange figure made of swirling darkness finally solidified closer before them. A reflection of her own tormented soul stared back, echoing every fear, her struggles, her hesitations, the deep-rooted scars that weaved through her lineage. You cannot escape what you are, it sneered, a voice chilling like an icy breath. Yes, I can. Ella exclaimed defiantly. I choose to change. I won't hide beneath fear any longer. The determination in her voice sliced through the oppressive air, causing the shadows to ripple uncertainly. The confrontation felt like eternity stretched into an agonizing moment. You think your love can save you? Look at the darkness inside you. The figure hissed triumphantly, the shadows pulsating around the nursery. Nathan, don't listen. Ella shouted to her son, her love for him anchoring her against the invading despair. She felt the shadows trying to wrap around Nathan's small frame, threatening to pull him in. Mom! Help me! Nathan cried, his innocence mixed with fear. Those words tore through Ella's heart like a spear, igniting her fury. No! She screamed, a fierce primal scream that transcended all fear. You will not take him. With those words, she surged forward, channeling every ounce of strength she had, pushing the shadowy figure back with the warmth radiating from her heart. Light flooded the nursery as Ella raised the glass plate high, its surface shimmering with a bright glow that fought against the encroaching shadows. We will break you, she declared loudly, brimming with the courage of her ancestors as their voices rang out, a chorus of strength rallying behind her. In a flash, the plate pulsed with energy and unleashed a light so fierce that it pierced through the dark shrouds, scattering the corners of despair. The shadow figure recoiled, screaming, its essence unraveling before the radiant force. Mom! Nathan yelled, eyes wide with awe, excitement flickering as the oppressive darkness began to lift. It's working. They're going away. With each ounce of light that Ella summoned, she could see the memories materializing, anguished faces filled with regret, sorrowful descendants, and the weight of the generational curse dissolving into the ether. They were not merely shadows but remnants of the past held captive, seeking solace and healing. In that moment, Ella realized the truth: to battle the past, she had to acknowledge it, forgive it, even embrace it. I see you, she cried to the shadow forms, her heart pounding with fierce reclamation. I understand your pain. As she spoke, memories flooded back, those fleeting moments of love altered by fear, the laughter she had silenced, the brightness dulled. With every confession, every shred of honesty uttered, the shadows dimmed until they were mere wisps of smoke, sighing softly before dissipating into nothing. Tears streamed down Ella's face, the weight lifted as shadows of her forebears transformed into streaks of light, carrying away the heartache that had plagued her family for generations. The figure that had once mirrored her own darkness now transformed into a soft, luminous glow, becoming her grandmother in spirit, a gentle hand reaching toward her. You've broken the bond, Ella, the specter whispered. Now, embrace your truth. Heal what was broken, together. With those final words, Ella felt a wave of warmth envelop her. The nursery glowed, filling with ethereal light, pushing every shadow from existence. Nathan rushed to her side, his innocent cheer lighting up the room, dispelling the remnants of fear that lingered like ghosts. Mom! He exclaimed, beaming brightly. We did it. We can be happy. Ella knelt down, enveloping him in a crushing embrace, relief flooding her being. Yes, my love. We can together. As the light shone brighter than the sun, Ella felt the remnants of the night retreating, dragging with them all traces of darkness. The nursery was warm again, filled with hope and love anew. Their home would be theirs again, a space to build memories, free from the shadows that had haunted them, and in that moment, surrounded by warmth and fading echoes of the past, Ella knew the future was theirs to shape. We are free, she whispered, a promise ringing through her heart, but with that, she felt the weight of responsibility settle over her. So much still to share, so much yet to understand what comes next. The vivid brightness of the nursery dimmed slowly, returning to the inviting glow of their home. Ella made a silent vow, one that would preserve the legacy of love, peace, and healing. Let us cherish our family story, she said softly, glancing down at Nathan. Together, forever, Nathan agreed, grinning widely. Ella felt the stirring of hope blooming within her, the dawn of a new beginning. Now, before you close this chapter, step into the next journey with us. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Don't let FOMO haunt you. Smash that like button now to help fuel the algorithm, letting the world dive into heart-racing tales just like this one. And flood that comments section with your reactions and theories. We thrive on your vibrant voices. Lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends. The gift of a good story is meant to be shared. Let us grow this amazing community together.